So how many Soviet soldiers died in Afghanistan between 1979 and 1989? The answer was 13,310.
Thank you very much. You're watching The Right Stuff with Falklands hero Simon Weston and Diamond and Scott Mills. We're going to be talking about the latest developments in the jungle in a fair while down the line. But first, a longer than usual phone-in on the Afghan war on terror. 0207 173 5555 is the number if you've got anything at all you want to say about it. As I mentioned earlier, I've resisted the idea for some time because, and for only this reason, I didn't want to feel that I was or you were undermining support for our troops. But it seems that public opinion has shifted in recent weeks, almost certainly as a result of the number of tragic losses we're having over there. Now, we went into Afghanistan a couple of months after 9/11, back in 2001. Why? Well, it was to drive out the Taliban, the fundamental Islamists accused of harbouring anti-Western terrorists. We have at present 9,000 men and women out there. 235 have lost their lives, British soldiers. 3,000 have been injured or fallen sick. Now, history tells us no one ever wins a war in Afghanistan. In the 1980s, the Soviets tried to prop up the country's Marxist government against the Islamic Mujahideen. For 9 years more than the 100,000 Soviet troops there, they fought for victory. 9 years, 100,000 troops, 13,000 paying with their lives before they retreated, beaten. Now, the international force we have there at present is of a similar size. It's around 101,000 troops. Should we send more? Well, Barack Obama is effectively dithering over this question right now and has yet to announce if he will send up to 40,000 extra troops. The US Army has already lost 848 men. The head of NATO, this is Anders Fogh Rasmussen, says we need more troops to help fight the war. Gordon Brown has promised 500 extra as long as other countries do the same. And yet, just a few days ago, the US ambassador to Afghanistan, Carl Eikenberry, said he doesn't think we should commit more men because the Afghan government we're supporting is, in essence, a corrupt mix of warlords and drug barons. Should we pull out or persevere is the question. When will we know if we've won? There's another. Should we send more troops? Kirsty hit the streets to find out.
I think we should be bringing them back. I think they've been out there long enough, and I think it's appalling that we're sending them out without the proper equipment.
Afghanistan has got to be solved sometime, and why not do it while we're doing it?
Well, I think that they should have the equipment that protects them, because I think some of the stuff that's being sent out there obviously is just not the right equipment for the protection of the troops.
They've been there long enough. There's been enough deaths, enough horror.
You've got to bring them back because if you look at history over 150 years, we've never won there. We're not going to win now. And I don't actually know what winning is. And even drawing doesn't look very good.
Okay, I think those comments are going to be echoed through the morning. I'm going to start with you, Simon. First of all, the reason that I didn't want to talk about, or I feel uncomfortable talking about this, is I'm very aware that in Vietnam, the troops were coming home in the latter stages of the war to find that the American people were turning their backs on them. And God help us, I don't want that situation to happen here. Do we need to send more troops? Should we bring them home?
We need to be firm in our commitment and know exactly what the mission is. We went there, it seemed that we followed the Americans in who were looking for revenge for 9/11. And then straight after that impact that they had going in there, then all of a sudden Iraq came on the horizon. And then the Americans committed 150,000 to Iraq, but left a small body of people in Afghanistan. But what did Iraq have to do with Afghanistan? And unfortunately, the two got mixed up. And the wrongness of going to Iraq has sullied the waters over what we should have been doing in Afghanistan. And there should have been a clearer objective. And there should have been a more decisive strike in there.
Should we be in Afghanistan in the first place? Is it a righteous war?
I think we had to go there. I don't think we could have not gone there, having seen what Al-Qaeda had perpetrated. And before 9/11, they'd been perpetrating things in Kenya and other parts of the world. So, you know, we couldn't just ignore what they were doing. They were world terrorists, not just sort of domestic terrorists or neighbouring terrorists. They were world terrorists. And we had to do something. We couldn't just sit back and do nothing. And I think we had to disable what they were doing. Now the Pakistanis, only latterly, they've only come on board recently to do anything in the Swat Valley and southern Waziristan. They've only started to get involved. So now they're getting involved and they're starting to reap all the havoc that everybody else has had to suffer internally because of what Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are doing there. So now they're taking it on. Maybe, just maybe, they've got no safe haven. And maybe, like as we saw with the IRA, once the Irish government, Republic government got on board, it stopped there. It had to, because they had nowhere to run away to. And maybe, just maybe, we can see some clear light now. I hope so, but we have to have a clear commitment. If we need to send more troops, then I suppose that's what they've got to do. You know, what I would ask everybody to understand is soldiers, sailors and airmen, they join a career. They don't choose the conflict that's chosen for them. So whatever you think about the conflict, don't turn your back on them. They deserve every bit of support they can get. They deserve every bit of comfort and the best equipment we can give. We've got shortages of helicopters. You know, they've sent one new Merlin.
Do you think, I mean, there's been a lot of flim-flam said about the helicopters, suspect by government. Do we have a shortage of helicopters? I mean, is that your view, that it is? Because I see plenty flying around in Andover.
There's a shortage of helicopters. There's no two ways about that. You talk to anybody who's been over there, you know, there's just not enough vehicles to do the job. The guys do the job brilliantly, and because they do it brilliantly, they've always been starved.
And left to fend for themselves.
But this didn't happen yesterday. This has been going on for the last 10 or 12 years, and, you know, I hate to say it again, which seems like I'm on a campaign here, but Mr. Brown was in charge of the Chancellery at the time. He was starving them of all the money to get the equipment they needed, and now he's Prime Minister, non-elect, and, you know, he's doing what? He's paying lip service now. You know, we needed to have supported the troops and invested in the equipment years ago.
I just want one other thing, if I may. Barack Obama, if he is considering whether to send 40,000 men or not, is that going to be a pivotal decision, i.e. if he decides not to, and Gordon Brown is already talking about bringing troops home, are we looking at some kind of withdrawal? I don't want to use the word defeat, just some kind of withdrawal.
Inevitably. It has to be. You know, if he doesn't send troops now, basically he's giving up.
Yeah.
He's throwing the towel in. So if he doesn't go, we're in a real problem. We're in a mire. We're going to see all those lives, all those injured boys and girls that we see back home now, and they're going to be left to the whims of whatever. You know, because once the pressure's off the government of the actual conflict, do we genuinely think that the MOD is going to continually worry about those people? 27 years on, I can tell you for a fact, no, they won't. Because we never did. We never got the care and the concern that these guys are getting right now. But in 10 years' time, will they still be getting the level of compensation and care? And I doubt it very much.
Anne?
I suppose it does boil down to... It's funny that what that man said out on the street, he said, what is winning? And I think we've got to decide what that is as well, because at the moment we see President Obama dithering, for heaven's sake. And I think...
How do you know you've won?
Well, how do you know what you won? Yeah, I mean, have we disabled Al-Qaeda to an extent where if we did pull out now, things would be different, or would they just get back to the same position again? In which case, the troops that have lost their lives, it's been for nothing. And I don't think we can have that situation where it's for nothing. I mean, already we, the public, don't seem to know what's going on in Afghanistan. We're not well enough informed on it. But to feel as well that our boys have been dying for nothing... we might as well pull out completely and then just watch the world come to ruin.
The other saying is that for every person you kill in a conflict like this, you create 10 more terrorists to come back at you, which is another area
that's what we
of
need
concern.
to examine, because otherwise, as you say, how do we know whether we've won?
Simon's right in saying as well that because of Iraq happening, like, we forgot about Afghanistan for a long time, and it's only now that it seems to be, over the last year, seems to be in the interest again.
Do you think it's... I mean, Iraq was an illegal invasion. Yeah. There is no doubt about it. And we were hoodwinked. They lied to us. Weapons of mass destruction, my backside. Afghanistan, do you think that's a righteous conflict, that we are right to be there?
I think, as Simon said, there was a reason we needed to go in. But I feel that if we pull out, then it's a dishonour to the people who have fought for us there so far. And I think whatever happens, whether it's right or wrong, they need to know that we're there backing them and supporting them in Afghanistan, which I think they haven't had for a while.
But then the experts say this is an unwinnable war.
Well, because the Soviet experience was, I mean, they chucked Well over 100,000 men. I mean, some of the reports was closer to 200,000 men. Virtually an unlimited budget.
They were unruly. They weren't as disciplined as the people we've got there now.
But they were also fighting a Mujahideen that was effectively sponsored by the CIA.
Yeah.
So
they had potless amounts of cash. I mean, they got everything they wanted. You know, when an expert says it's an unwinnable war, an expert's only somebody who's read a book that you haven't. You know, and ultimately, you know, how are we to know that they're going to be right? I do think that there can be some sort of resolution. We just need to work harder at it. And I think the politicians need to get more involved with engaging with the Taliban and talking to their leaders and finding out what will bring this to an end. Because at the end of the day, we can fight forever. These people have nothing else. They have joyless lives. There's no entertainment in their lives. There's no music, no radio, no TV. No big wild parties, nothing to look forward to. So what have they got? They've only got fighting to do.
yeah, nothing to lose.
Nothing at all to lose. You mean they're the poorest nation in the world? You know, they scrabble around.
Okay.
It's a desperate situation.
We'll take a few of your calls. We're going to carry on with this after the break. So let's find out some reaction from you guys at home. Kirsty.
First, we have Kelly, and she's on line 2.